Thank you, Deepa. His objective is select a topic that you are not already familiar with or that you wish to learn more about. Be sure your topic is narrow enough to be an effective 5 to 7 minute speech. Research the topic and begin organizing the information as described in this project. Practice your speech and continue to refine its organization. So over to you, Toastmaster Apoorv. All the best.
Thank you.
The speech with the speech title Price of Freedom, Toastmaster Apoorv. Price of Freedom. Over to Toastmaster.
Thank you, Toastmaster Deepa, my fellow guests. So I have a question for you, a genuine one. What do you think happens when you are given exactly what you wanted without any training for it? What happens when an entire people fall hook, line, and sinker for the rhetoric of liberty and freedom? So the story is going to be about the civil war in Angola between 1974 and 1990. This is written by an author called James Martin, and this is actually a story of human nature. Let me start. So it's 1975, and Angola has just won its independence from Portugal. And unlike India, where it was partly peaceful, this was a complete guerrilla warfare place. Portugal had its first free and fair elections under the UN, and a party called MPLA won. Now, you see, unlike India, where we had 5 years for like a KD session to happen till we became a republic, Angola was given 1 year, in fact, less than that, to form a government and be on its own. Here's the thing. The Angolans at that point of time were jungle guerrilla warfare people. They did not know anything, they were not educated, and they did not know how to run a functioning civil government. So the elections were won, as I said, by the party called MPLA, and they won it on the basis of the ethnic tribes of Ovibundu, Kimbundi, and Bakongo people. So this comprises about approximately 65% of the people. Now, of course, when 65% of the people vote for one party just because they are of their ethnic group, the rest would not like it. And they actually waged a civil war to get their freedom and liberty. And you see, to the jungle gorilla people, every hammer is just to hammer a nail, because that's all they know. They only know the trigger. So, but you see, 27 years is not something that only a few disgruntled locals can keep a war raging on for. This is where stuff gets internationalized. So you have Cuba. At that point of time, it was actually a functioning country. So Cuba helps Angola for about 12 years with men, materials, training, the knowledge for the MPLA to become a sort of stable, functioning government of sorts. And you see, wherever Cuba is there, you would have the Soviet Union backing it. And wherever you had the Soviet Union, you would obviously have the Americans. Now, America had just been kicked in the teeth in Vietnam. It wanted revenge. And she did exactly what she does till date. That is intervene. So Americans paid and armed the Angolan opposition through South Africa. Now, here's the funny part. South Africa at this point of time is an apartheid state. So just step back and look at it. You have the leader of the free world paying and arming a military in the other part of the world by a country which is known for its treating 75% of its population as subhuman in the name of freedom and liberty. This is the realpolitik of this world. I would like to explain something about Angola. So Angola had been ruled by Portuguese. Portuguese also ruled Goa for about 250 years. And if any of us are from Goa, you would know that calling the Portuguese barbaric then was an understatement. You would have stuff like nipples of women being torn off because their men were known conspirators. You would have public, slow, mutilated deaths because they were spying. Whatever the Portuguese perfected for 250 years in India, they applied till 1975 in Angola. And the Angolans then learned very well from their colonial masters and applied those same exact techniques on their fellow traitors. Shakespeare had once called the world a stage. To me, it seems like the roles remain the same, the people just change. So now 1986 rolls around and you have Chernobyl happening, and Mother Russia pulls all her men and material back into the Soviet Union to help out. A couple of years down the line, the American media hounds the government to stop supporting wannabe dictators with less than stellar human rights records, right? And the world kind of learns a sort of Zen like equanimity to the human meat grinder that Angola had become. And you see, without foreign support, this just becomes a game of attrition. And that is, you have, I'm sorry, I haven't net. Okay, can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry about that, I'll continue. So, without foreign support, this becomes a game of attrition, which is he who has the most bodies to throw into the fire will be the hottest. That's as simple as that. So late 1990s rolls around, and all of us are talking about IT, medicine, trade, and you have a semblance of a country coming out of its own fog of war. It's famished, it's bleeding, it's old, it's fatigued, it's exhausted, and they've somehow cobbled up a country together in hope of some peace that they can have. I've been trying to find in my research some sort of meaning in this human tragedy. And any Toastmaster speech is supposed to have some moral and it should not be a BT like what it is right now. But then reality sunk in that sometimes there are no happy endings. For the same people who yell freedom, liberty, and the jingoism and the rhetoric there, these are the same suckers that will run when the first shot is fired or be the one who gets shot the first. See, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. Our constitution asks us to have a scientific temper, to have an objectivity to what is being told to us, to listen to it, to understand and comprehend and take our own conclusions through objectivity. And you see, we have leaders these days promising us their version of equality and you're right. But this is the price of freedom, to always be vigilant, to see, to read, to understand what is being told to us and respond to it properly. Because the other price is not something either of us will want to pay. Thank you, everybody. And I give it back to you, Toastmaster Deepa.
Thank you, Toastmaster Apoorv, the bibliophile that you are, and thank you for bringing us that.
Later, Toastmaster Dipti for Toastmaster Apoorv Sinha. Over to you, Toastmaster Dipti.
Thank you, Toastmaster Shashidhar. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm also in another meeting, so it's all kind of like going on in circles. Sorry. Let me start. TM Apoorv. One thing that comes into my mind when I heard your speech was, we are all stories in the end. I'm a person who hated history during my school time. But today, I was so much engrossed in your story that I want to go back and I want to research more and learn about the Angola War. That is how much you inspired me today. And that is your power. You're a very eloquent speaker and you always come across as a person who has great mastery over the language. For instance, game of attrition. I don't know what it means, but it sounded really very cool. Okay, so let's get started with 3 things that you did amazingly today. So the first one is, I loved how you presented history to all of us. What did you say? You said 65% of people were there who were making it the majority, and then America walked in, then Cuba walked in. It was a lot of beautiful history lesson out there, a lot of stories. I was like, okay, what is happening next? Where? What? When is it going to end? Let's come to the end part later. But you had me engrossed. I could see evidence of you having researched your thing very well. Like those YouTube videos where comfortably, you get engrossed and you watch the story going in a certain transitional way. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm getting so much messed up here right now. Okay, hold on, please. Yeah, I was getting a call. I'm so sorry. So I could see that you had done your research very well because of all the statistical points that you gave us. That was really very impressive. The third thing that was very impressive was I was convinced of the pain that you felt when you gave us this story. You made the right pauses at the right time. And when I saw your face, when you said, sometimes there are no happy endings, right? That is a line I think I will always take with myself everywhere. I really felt bad for Angola people. Like, I can only imagine what they could have gone through. And you made us feel that. That is your power again. Three things that could have been better in your speech. I felt you were not very comfortable, like how I am not right now. And that is because I saw you looking down at your notes. You were probably checking it out, but it came across a little bit as if you are not very comfortable, and that flow was kind of breaking for us. So that is one place I would highly urge you to work upon in your next speech. The second thing is your gestures. You were good with your gestures, like when you walked back, and that had an impact on us. But there were certain points like you could have done better. For instance, you go, so America did this, Cuba did this, like small Cuba was here, they did this, and Goa, if you know what they did this, that, this. So when you use your hand gestures like this in different ways, it adds to the effect, it makes it more interesting and entertaining. So please keep that in mind probably for the next speech. The third one was your ending. You had a great beginning, like when you said, what do you think happens when you're given something without training? That was a great hook. But the ending part, if you had ended your sentence with, sometimes there are no happy endings, that would have been more, powerful than the way you ended it. So probably a little bit of more thought on your ending. In conclusion or in summary, you're a great storyteller. You make even the most mundane topics come alive with the way you speak. You are an absolute joy to listen to. Your enunciation, your language, power over your language is amazing. And few things to work on is your gestures, your comfort level, and your ending. So thank you, and over to you, General Evaluator Toastmaster Shashidhar.
Thank you, Toastmaster Dipti.
Toastmaster Deepti, what a wonderful another story